Hi,
Okay.
Janice. Thank you for joining us today. Really good to see you again on our programme today, which is a Sea special, and we're featuring three 1950s women, of which you are one of them.
I certainly am, Ian. Good afternoon, and good evening to all our lovely listeners.
Yes, certainly.
As you know, I've been on the show before, and it's good to be back.
Yes, very good to have you back as well. Would you like to tell us about yourself, Janice, to start off with?
Right. Okay. If we just go back a good few years now, firstly, I was a volunteer with Back to 60, and more recently, I'm a volunteer with Cedar in Law, and I'm an advocate for the 3.5 million 50s women. And I campaign daily on social media, write to various MPs about our campaign, Mediation Now, and how they can support us. And you can find me out and about in London at Westminster and on the steps of number 10 if I'm invited by Joe Welsh in my role as supporter and advocator of our rights through Cedar in Law, my amazing team.
Yes, they are.
They are, yes.
Yeah,
Very small team, but as I say, we campaign daily and we're not
yeah.
going away.
No, there's a saying, I think that one of my friends says, two of them, they're in a acting group, and it says, though we may be small, we are ferocious.
Yes, we are. Yes. Well, we're women, aren't we? So
Exactly, yes.
there we go.
So, Janice, how has the rise in the state pension age impacted on yourself?
Well, if I can just say, I'm 67 now. I was divorced at 38 back in the 1990s, and my divorce was based on me getting my state pension at 60. And at that time, myself and my solicitor had no idea of the changes government were making behind our backs. Had Cedar been in law at this time and introduced by Margaret Thatcher, she introduced it in the 1980s, but it was never put into law. The changes made to 50s women's SP would probably not have happened, as discrimination would have been found out and dismissed. Discrimination now in this state pension scandal, it's all put down to equality with men, and it's not right. We have been discriminated against. And as I say, if CEDAW had been implemented by Margaret Thatcher and the government at the time, this scandal would never have happened because women would have had voices. We didn't have voices back in the day. We have voices now, but they're really not heard. So in recent years, I've been impacted. I left teaching at the age of 60. I couldn't retire fully. I had to work because I needed to have some money coming in. When my children were young, I was a mum at home, so I wasn't paying into workplace pension at that time, and I've never really caught up with my workplace pension. And the state pension, the dues I paid in were mine, and they would have made such a difference through my adult life, since the age of 60. It's my money and I want it back. I was carer for my mum and dad as well, live round the corner from them. So they would pay my council tax just so that I could live in the house and be near to them. So having the state pension at 60 would have made a big difference. Even now, I would have choices now if I had that money. I have got it now, but I didn't have it when I should have had it.
Yeah, thank you, Janice. As you say, you left teaching at 60, and that would have been the age you would have got your pension had it been,
Yes,
the
yes,
normal thing.
yes, exactly. So, yes, really, I continue to be impacted. I have downsized now, got a smaller property. But as we know, the outgoings are horrendous, not just for me, for everybody at the moment, with austerity measures. Just yesterday, Prem Seeker was saying that life expectancy throughout Europe is faltering, and it's the worst in England. And government says when we haven't got austerity measures, but whatever you want to call it, austerity is a killer, and it is affecting 50s women as it is other people. So yeah, continue to be impacted.
Janice, is there any support out there in the House of Commons for mediation now, and why?
Well, we have massive support, absolutely huge support for mediation. I think maybe, Ian, I should just say a quick note about what is mediation. Would that help?
Yeah, that.
Right, okay, so mediation is a tool, a confidential and voluntary process that helps resolve disputes without having to go to court, which we know is lengthy and very, very costly. Mediation is used all the time. Our dispute, 50s women's dispute, is a civil dispute, and there has been a breach of contract by governments. You know, we paid in, they should have paid out, and they broke that contract. But they said it was all about equality, and it wasn't. Mediation is a ready-made solution to this debt of honour, and those are John McDonnell's words. The government have a debt of honour, and they really should be meeting us, mediating around the table. And CJAW are ready to start this process of mediation through an alternative dispute resolution, which shortened version is an ADR. And we have independent professional mediators on standby to start mediation in their neutral role with the Secretary of Works and Pensions, which is currently Liz Kendall. So mediation is a really useful tool, and Dr. Scott, Dr. Jocelyn Scott, has said that government are missing a trick. They should come to mediation. It's all right. And so far, Liz has not come to the table. CJAW has written to Liz to ask her to meet us for mediation. So far, we haven't heard. And just coming on to that massive support that we have, Sir John Howarth, who was an MP, wrote to the Minister, the Secretary of State of Works and Pensions, on behalf of CJAW and the 1950s women when Mel Stride was in office. And over 62 MPs have joined him for this alternative dispute resolution. And more MPs are coming forward since the general election. And we are meeting them face to face and on Zoom meetings, and we're explaining what we mean by mediation, how an ADR can help us. And they're coming forward and they're saying, right, what can we do? What can we do to support you? And we're here and we're ready to support these MPs. And they do need training in what CDAW is. It's the Convention for the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, and it is our right to have our voices heard. But I think they shy away from CDAW because really they've not had the training. So yes, Sir George Howarth, 62 MPs and rising. They are writing, as I say, to Liz themselves in their own right. We've had at least 4 EDMs in the name of 1950s women. Over 470 MPs have signed the EDMs, and we follow this up. Who signed an EDM? Right, okay, let's get you up to date. What mediation means, how you can help resolve this scandal, because it needs resolving. CJAW, we have all the evidence that we need. We've got evidence for, I will have said this before, for discrimination and maladministration, and we've got a team on standby, and we are not asking for money off the 50s women to do this. We want to do it through mediation, and we won't have the costs if we were to go through court, and heaven knows how long that may take. John McDonnell is one of our great supporters, as is Ian Byrne and many other MPs. Restitution for 50s women. And they mean restitution and not just a few crumbs. It is a scandal. We paid the money in, not unlike the miners, actually. The miners were paid out, but let's face it, there weren't many women that were miners. And because they were men, they've been paid out. Something similar is happening in Poland. They've been trying to put the SP age up, and men came out on the streets. So it hasn't happened. You know, so women, I'm awfully sorry, we do not have equality with men. I think you would agree with that, actually. David Henke, of course, you know, the investigative journalist, our great supporter and advocate, he found £271 billion was removed from the National Insurance Fund that we paid into. But we know, and we have evidence, that there's still money in there to pay us out, even though government adamantly say the money isn't there. But it is. So I'm saying mediation now, and so are our supporters. It's, you know, it's our right through CEDAW to have our voices heard and to have this scandal resolved fairly. Governments have a legal obligation to implement CEDAW, and with reference to GR 40, General Resolution 40, which is part of CEDAW, General Resolution 40, simply put, is that women have the right to be heard around the table when government are discussing women's issues. And at this point in time, we are not around the table. We're not invited. CEDAW in law want all groups of 50s women to have representatives around that table, which is only fair. I just need to say something about the Civil Procedure Rules 2024.
Okay.
Because this is mentioned in other groups as well. Civil Procedures Rules can support CEDAW in law's call to mediation. These updated rules embed mediation and other forms of ADR into the civil justice process. Courts now have the authority to encourage ADR. Judges can require parties to engage in mediation. So yes, government needs to get round the table. So yes, MPs are coming on board more and more, but you know, they need in their own independent status to get onto the DWP and get this happening. Women, you know, if you're dispirited, please join Facebook group CEDAW in Law. There's a wealth of information in there about what you can do. There is a template for a letter that was put up yesterday to write to your MP. You can cut and paste the information. Our petition is also on there. Thousands and thousands have signed it. Over 40,000 signers now. Wealth of information of how you can get your MP on board. You know, you've got to be in it to win it, ladies. You know, it's no point in pointing the finger and saying to people like myself, you know, a volunteer, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What I want to say, ladies, is come on, get out there, do something. It takes 3 minutes to send an email, you know, and that's the beginning of the journey. I've sent my new MP an email. I've had a reply. I'm not happy with it, so I will now think, what can I do next? And we carry on, we carry on, we carry on. We are not going away. It's historical discrimination and it requires relief. There is a moral imperative to right this wrong, in Dr. Jocelyn Scott's words.
There we are. Janice has told you, get to action there, get out there and do something. Yes.
Okay, if I could just say huge thanks to our supporters, in particular at this moment, to Davina Lloyd, Dr. Davina Lloyd, for mentoring us through this presentation for CEDAW in Law and Mediation Now, and for the 3.5 million 50s women who are still here. Thanks always goes to David Henke. The MPs, they know who they are. Dr. Jocelyn Scott and yourself, Ian, thank you, because you always come to the forefront with the platform that we need.
It's a pleasure, Janice. I believe you wanted to say something about Mo, who was one of the team.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, obviously the team have given this a lot of thought, and you know, we've only got a certain amount of time with yourself, which we are so thankful for, Ian. So I just want to say about Mo, it was with great sadness that we announced the passing of our beloved friend and team worker from back to 60 in CEDAW in Law, whose dogged campaign style helped to build and sustain our successful work until the end of 2024. Mo supported Liverpool FC. She worked for the NHS and she used to go to every home game. This is what her lovely partner, Taff, has told us. And in Mo's honour, and for every other 1950s woman who has passed, including my two bridesmaids, I have to say, we would like to dedicate a tract to Mo. And in the words of David Henke, Cedar-in-law is one bright light for the 50s women, and Mo will be shouting that for the rafters. So again, Mo, we're called the TBTs for Cedar-in-law. We know what that means, and you're very, very close to our hearts. So come on, 50s women. Let's hear it for everyone that you've lost, and let's please take this mediation now forward. Please get involved. If you're not in Cedar or Facebook, get on there. We're on Facebook because we don't have to pay for the platform. It's that simple. So Mo, a track that is dedicated to you. Ian, I'll pass this over to you now because it's quite emotional.
Thank you, Janice. I think you've spoken there for everyone, really. We are dedicating this show to Mo and all the 1950s women who are no longer with us, who haven't managed to get the pensions or didn't, not got to the point where we were hoping that things would be different. This is Jerry and the Pacemakers and You'll Never Walk Alone. Thank you, Janice.
Thank you.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of love. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, for your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk
Today is our Cedar special, featuring 1950s women.